Okay, this is video 4 of Vacation Rental Maestro channel, and we're going to pick up right where we left off, which was talking about the concept of property management companies getting involved in the game, both very, very large ones like Turnkey, but then you have others that have 10 or 20 or 50 properties. I'm sure you have some that have 500. I really don't know the breakdowns. And then you've got, the smaller folks that maybe have 2 or 5 or 10 properties, maybe some are their own or some they're managing for others. But without a doubt, it appears that there is becoming a bias towards property management companies. It's been reported now by several people in their markets that they're noticing that the property management companies are popping up and populating the maps and the lists. And so what does that mean? Well, if you had a list up here which showed total properties and properties that you can't see here, it's a little less devastating. But when you've got a company who has limited the number of visible properties to 50, if you have a property management company like the one I'm going to get into in a bit, there's a property management company that owns 10 that just released 10 properties in this neighborhood last year. Last year they put 10 out. 10 properties in this image is 20% of the real estate. And they just came online last year. Okay. So what is the influx of property management companies at all levels? What does that mean to this business for those of us that were individual property holders or small property holders, small business people who were in this business because we enjoyed it, we like the interaction, and we like the commerce? Well, it means that we are. It's going to be very difficult to compete because at some point we're all going to be competing for top 50 spots. And if you've got property managers around you that aren't intentionally pushing you out of the way, but they, by nature and by trade, they are, your only option to stay near the top and something that can be seen might be to join them. So it's a fight them or join them kind of thing. So I don't know about you, but I don't have 20% extra to fork over to a property manager. And frankly, having been in this business for 10 to 12 years, there's no, conceptually, that doesn't process for me. Understanding the problems, the difficulties, the challenges of running a vacation rental. Now I'm in an urban area. I have a unique house. It's 4 stories tall. It's only 14 feet wide. There's a lot of nuances with a house that was originally built in 1840. So, a little bit different for somebody who might be in a beach or a mountain setting. But so what we're really looking at in the short to midterm, unless something breaks, is you're either going to be with a property manager or else you don't get coverage on this site in particular. Now, obviously Airbnb may be different, but I think everybody's going that way. It's getting very competitive. So who knows? So I wanted to close that out. The next thing I want to talk, there was a question about location dots. Some people didn't realize that they had location dots. Years and years and years ago with Home Away, you had an option of whether you wanted to put an exact location or an approximate location. I don't even know if you had that. I don't think we could put the real addresses like in 2005 or 2006, 2007. I don't recall, but I remember it was a big deal because I wanted the dot where my house was because my house is on a very secluded street right here. It's not a through street. It was a benefit to me. So anyway, we haven't seen them much, but I've seen them come out more lately. So this is an approximation dot. It means that the owner of this property, somewhere in our settings, made an intentional selection not to disclose their actual location. They just want an approximation. Now, the question that came in regarding Michael's property yesterday is, I just find it fascinating that, and I keep screwing up, Michael's property is at this intersection, not this one. It's right here. It's just inside the thing. But the question is why did that dot land right in this honey hole? Why not here? Why not next to this one? I don't know. I've got some. It's just very questionable. Now I can tell you that they did disservice to this property. If this is, I can't recall if this is the one or not, but one of the approximation dots down here was actually moved. Its actual location is much better, and they moved it to a point that was far less attractive. So anyway, so that's what an approximation dot is, and apparently there's a setting in our settings that some people might opt for, and you'd have to wonder why they do that, at least this day and age. But everybody has their own reasons. Maybe it's privacy, security, or something. Well, there's a lot of actual reasons that somebody might want to do that. I've covered that one. I'm going to hit pause here for a second. Okay, I'm back. I'm going to shift gears a little bit, just to give some folks, some unifying concepts of what it is I'm doing or trying to do. I have several goals with these videos, and one is to increase the dialogue and increase the inquisitiveness of everyone. Now, I don't necessarily mean increase the dialogue with myself, as I have a whole lot of different things going on and a lot of irons in the fire. But I'm hoping to raise simple questions for people like, why isn't the filter box here? So that you guys can start saying, yeah, why isn't it here? And just start badgering those that have control of this system right now. And increase dialogue about other things, about business, about big business and how it works. Many people don't seem to truly understand the mentality in big business. There are concepts like we compete with each other. Competing. We don't compete, we compete. So when you look at an Airbnb, TripAdvisor, HomeAway situation, you're looking at competitors, not competitors. Okay. Anybody who remembers years ago, Coke and Pepsi used to run all these ads on TV, and they used to compete against each other and spend a lot of money on advertising. Have you noticed, at least unless something has changed, I don't watch much TV anymore, but you don't see those ads anymore. Why not? Well, once you and another competitor or two or three or four, a limited number, control a marketplace, you could almost think that there's a gentleman's agreement. They don't have to meet in a dark room and agree to price fix or agree to do anything. There's a general understanding in business that if you go out and compete, you spend money that could otherwise be kept inside for employees, employee bonuses, and profits. And this is where trade agreements, international trade agreements, come into play that oftentimes artificially protect our competitors in our biggest industries. I was in the bearing industry for a while, and we thought we were selling low, and the Chinese would come in with something that was a quarter of the price, and you go, well, how much does it really cost? But then one day I walked into one of our customers' facilities. They were actually buying direct from our parent company in Germany. We had some manufacturing in Germany and some here in the States, and it turned out there was a customer in the United States that was buying direct from Germany at a price below what my division bought at. Think about that. So anyway, there's the concepts of competition and cooperation at higher levels are dramatically different than most people understand. So trying to raise awareness to some of that as well, and, increase the dialogue on complex topics like that. And, another thing is trying to talk about things in hopes that somebody in the legal realm sees or hears something that's stimulating. It says, hey, wait a minute, that actually has some legs. To try to get some balance in the system that we've got locked up with our 3 or 4 major vendors in this marketplace. So those are my goals. You talk about a good offense. Everybody's working hard right now to build their own websites if they didn't have it, to get alternate payment systems if they didn't have it, and to get alternate business management systems if they didn't have it, if they were stuck on those. Personally, I've had all of those for 10 years. I've got a technology background. I've had my own website. I have my own web-based management system. So, and I'm struggling. So I guess what I'm saying is that it's great to build your offense, and you need to do that. You need to, Alan Egan's got a great thing for building websites. The people that have said they've used his services or his help have raved about it. I think he's got online booking through his websites. They look very pretty. For me personally, I'm more of a Weebly kind of guy than a WordPress kind of guy. I keep it simple, stupid. But obviously I don't have online checkout. Anyway, there are options out there. You need to build your offense, but somebody needs to send the defensive scouts out and figure out who it is that us smaller people are actually competing against. Because we're competing against these large property management companies and even larger property management companies. And, at times there has to be a question as to whether we're actually competing with VRBO themselves in some way. When you look at a large property management company like Turnkey, who has founders that were from VRBO, so the goal is to start trying to raise the awareness of who are we competing against, what are we looking at, and it may be a dismal look, but at least if that's the case, some of you that are hanging on might make a quicker decision to bail out, might save you some money, or might realize what you're in for. And it might help you make some better decisions about where you need to be in the future faster. So those are some of the goals of what's going on. We're working on some of the defensive stuff right now. Who are we competing against? Let's see. There's one other thing I was going to mention is, could VRBO and HomeAway, Airbnb, actually be interested in seeing a decrease in listings? they flooded the market. The market is flooded without a doubt. Part of hiding this listing, without a doubt, and I had a problem with Airbnb the other day, was once I set a filter, I couldn't remove it. So there is all kinds of pressure from municipalities and cities who realize the problems that are arising from this, and they're making the data presented on the websites harder for those municipalities to figure out just how bad the problems are. So, and if the market floods, nobody's successful. Very few people are successful. And truthfully, I think there may be a situation in which the flooded market is actually affecting an investment group that has some pretty big money from some pretty big investors, and I'll get into that later. So, there's a lot of dynamics in play. I mentioned Michael Larcher the other day. This is the owner of that listing I had. Somebody asked me, I wonder where he works. I had already looked it up. If you're interested, and this is his LinkedIn page. Just look him up. Unique name, easy to find. Fascinating background. This guy who was smoking it on Airbnb with that one listing that's kind of, he's got 43 reviews in 40 weeks. He's a senior product manager at Capital One, year and 8 months. He was a consultant. He's located in Washington, D.C. He's a consultant. He was a consultant. He was a consultant. This is interesting. He worked for Marco Rubio's campaign for a while. He was a consultant, campaign worker. This is where I think it's interesting. His undergrad's from Vanderbilt. He's got a master's in political science from George Washington, and he's got a master's in business from UC Berkeley. Now, when I combine this is unrelated to Michael. As far as I'm concerned, there's absolutely no connection to any of this. But when I think about political science, business, and Airbnb, like political science, Washington, D.C. politics, and Airbnb, the first thing that comes in my mind is Paul Manafort. For those that aren't aware, Paul Manafort, this is a quote, Paul Manafort allegedly used laundered money to make thousands through Airbnb. If you are not aware of this, Google it, look it up. And this is part of the process of figuring out who it is that we may be competing against at various levels, who may be investing in properties that are being turned over to property management companies. If you're familiar with the offshore cash that's been mentioned in the Panama Papers and that kind of thing, there is very few better vehicles in the United States to launder money through than vacation rentals. So if that wasn't on your radar screen, it is now. And let me do a little something here. I've just thrown Michael under the bus. If anybody wants to find out about me, I have a website. It's out here. I've got a background in engineering, master's in business. I'm a licensed contractor. I'm a licensed real estate agent. This is one of my websites that shows that kind of work. I also have a website related to some publishing, some in the mainstream, some alternative publishing. So I'm not trying to throw Michael under the bus here. Michael, if you get this video and you want to make any comments or any of my prior videos, I'm wide open. I only communicate typically via email, and I'd be glad to listen to anything you got. Or if you want to make a video and talk, that's fine. Maybe I'll even have a phone call with you. So it's up to you, but I want to make sure that nobody thinks I'm picking on him. My stuff is out there. I'm free game and fair game. And I'm going to be naming a lot more names here in the next couple of videos and going into details of various people, because I think that's where we need to start digging to try to figure out what's going on. Where's all the competition coming from? Maybe is it just an outflux of money because the stock market is too inflated and there's no fixed returns? There's a lot of things going on. And the goal is to start scratching the surface and figure out, from a defensive scout perspective, who is on the other side of the offense that has these powerful machines that are rolling into our markets and taking the top 50 spots on the search, which really is pushing a lot of us smaller guys out of business. And is it all on the up and up? I mean, or are there deals going on behind the scenes that we're not aware of? So that's it. We'll talk to you next time.